And you know what? To get to even know you more, I got this segment that I have where I ask you a few questions. All right, I prepared these ahead of time. Questions I really think can, tap into Robert, so we can get to know you more. And it's called Heart's First Whisper. The idea is I ask you the question, and your heart replies without even any thought involved. All right, the first one is, what did it feel like the moment you saw Jesus face to face?
Well, I was glad he picked me up off the ground because it was just the most amazing experience of love I've ever shared with anybody. When Jesus looks at you with his eyes are totally focused on you. You know, you've talked to people and they'll look this way or they'll look that way. They never focus right on you. You're looking at him and you're talking to him and you know and feel that you are the most important person or a conversation he's having ever, because he gives you total concentration, total fixation on you. And his love just permeates out of his eyes. He has a sparkle. And the closer you get to him, his love becomes even more strong. Now, when Jesus holds your hand or he touches you, it's the strangest thing that happens, because it's like your hand kind of glows, or he brushes your cheek, it glows. And when he takes it away, that just kind of stays for a little and just kind of fades away a little bit. But that's how powerful his love is. It's actually him. But that love just surrounds you. It just engulfs you. And you know that when he says something, it's absolute truth. And it's absolute out of love. No matter what he does, no matter what he says, no matter how he acknowledges your response to him, it is coming from love. He truly is pure love. You know, people say we've looked evil in the face. Well, looking Jesus in the face is looking at pure love.
Well, it's amazing when you feel that on the other side. And then the question, how do you bring it back with you? Which takes us into question two, which is, what changed in you the moment you came back? Maybe the moment you woke up in ICU.
Everything. The first thing that came out of my mouth, and my wife will tell you this, is I died. I said, I went to heaven. I met Jesus. And all I could do was just talk about Jesus in heaven. That's all I wanted to talk about. My life since has totally changed. I'm not disconnected from God at all. Not like I was before. I'm caught up in Jesus. I ain't caught up in the world. I'm caught up in Jesus, and he through me are going out into the world, but not to get caught up in it, but to share it, to be in it, so that they can see his love. I want them, when they look at me and see me, that they know that's love. That's Jesus' love. I've had a lot of people that knew me before and said quite candidly, you are not the same person. And it's true. I used to be competitive and I would have to beat you at anything we played. And now it just doesn't matter. I finally figured out what it's like to be joyful and happy and to love not only yourself, but Jesus and others. That's how my life is now. It's just amazing.
That leads right into the next question, which is just about that. Like, what does love mean to you now after this experience?
Absolutely everything. Without love, 1 Corinthians, it says, without love, we're just a noisy gong. And I was a noisy gong before. Maybe I wouldn't gong all the time. Maybe it would tone down a little bit. But I'd bang that bell again, and sure enough, that'd overcome everything. The love that he has, the love that I experienced when I was there, and the love that I was able to come back with because he's in my heart, and I know and I feel that love, and I let that love control me. Before, I wanted to control everything. I had to be in charge. A lot of people do that in the world. Yeah, I love Jesus, but I'm going to do this one on my own. No, do everything out of love, and he will open up doors for you and joyous things and happiness that you can never dream possible. And that's what I got to convey to everybody else. So the love is, what does love mean now? That's my life. Where before, I was my life.
Well, it's fascinating because you had this experience, so you have the knowing of this now. But, number four, what would you say to someone who's afraid of death that hasn't had this experience and doesn't have this knowing? How do you share that experience with them to help them through these difficult times?
Well, the first thing I'd have to share to them is make sure that they understand who Jesus is and they have accepted him and they are a born again believer. That would be the first thing. And then that having done that, that's the only way that they could understand and comprehend what I'm telling them. And that is that there is no fear in love. There is none. I don't fear death. I don't fear injury. I don't worry about anything anymore. I have none of those traits that I used to have. I truly don't, because his love eliminates it. When you live in his love and do everything out of love, as he says, if we could take chapter 13 out of 1 Corinthians verses 4 through 7 and put it in our mind, it's in mine, but put that in our minds and use it as a checklist. Just like a pilot, before he takes a plane off, he has a checklist. If he goes through it, it's going to be successful. If he doesn't, things can go bad. That's what we do in life. If everything we do, everything we say, every reaction that we do, every reason we do them, if we truly search and think about, do these abide and apply about what love is, and are they being done out of love? If they don't reach that, then don't do it. Perfect example. Somebody insults you. I'm going to insult you right back. I have that right. I have that right. No, you really don't. Because if you're a Christian and they're insulting you or they're doing something, guess what? They're doing that to Jesus. And Jesus wouldn't take into account that wrong suffered, would he? So suddenly I don't have to retaliate. I really wish they wouldn't do that. But I'm sorry that you feel that way. But I love you anyway.
Well, that's a great lesson. And I know you've got many lessons you came back with. But I tell you, number five here leads right into, this question, which is what's the most important thing Jesus taught you during those 44 hours? Is there one you can point to?
If we truly do everything out of love, everything will be perfect. Also, you got to understand, we're to do God's work. But get it straight. What is God's work? Is to believe in the one he sent and to love him. We are to love others as we love Jesus and Jesus loves us. It's a new commandment. In the New Testament, he said that. He's telling the disciples, I give you a new commandment, that you love one another and you love him. It's not in the first 10. Of course, our salvation wasn't in the first 10 commandments either. But in the New Testament, he says that. And it's not optional. He said, you must do it out of love. That's his work. That's the commandment that he wants you to obey. The 11th commandment, that you shall love God and love others, fulfills all of the first 10. And if you take the first 10 commandments and you compare them to what love is, you will see that you can't love him and love others under that commandment that he gave us in the New Testament. If you're loving like he said, you will not do any of the other 10 commandments. He summed it up very simply. These are in this. Do this. Love. And that's it. Because it's not self-serving. It's kind. It's gentle. You're not going to go out and murder somebody. And he also said, remember, that you love him. So you're not putting any God first either, are you? Only one. Everything in there is that.
So, with all that direction on love, and that is amazing. And I think when you're on the other side in heaven, you can feel that everywhere. On this side, there's a lot of, crazy stuff that's happening in the world, which brings us to number 6, which is how has your view of the pain, suffering, or illness in this world changed since your return?
I understand it. And by that, I mean this. Jesus shared with me that if you're going to try and find out what is from God and what is from the world and Satan, it's a very simple challenge. If it's good, it's from God. If it's bad, it's from the world or Satan. God does not cause ill will on people. He doesn't set you up and make you fall and break your arm. He doesn't make you get ill. He doesn't say you're going to have a lot of pain, you're going to suffer. That's not God. That's of the world that we live in. See, we all have imputed sin from Adam and Eve. And we're born with that sinful nature. And that sinful nature, when the sin entered the world, it wasn't just man that is suffering that curse. It's all the world, all living things, everything else. That's when death entered the world, death and decay. As a result, our bodies then can get death and decay, which is caused by outside influences in the world, by diseases, bacteria, and stuff that those are all bad things. But that's not from God. But he allows us to go through them because when that happens to us, he uses that, Romans 8:28, all things work together for the good for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. He uses those bad things to help mold us and conform us to be more Christ-like. So all he's there. Now he will be with you to help you suffer those things, but that's just some things that we just have to suffer and go through here. Sometimes we bring them on ourselves. Sometimes they're as a result of somebody else. Consequently, everybody's actions have consequences and reactions. So if some evil or bad or misguided or not applying love does something or influences something that you're injured or ill as a result of it because of the bad and stuff in the world, it's not from God. Don't blame God. Thank God that it's only temporary, because when you get to heaven, you won't have any of that in the new world. But it's not from God. So first thing you do is you recognize that it's not because God's punishing you or that it's happening because of God. He'll comfort you, try to get you through it. It's just life has those things. Some people get sick, some people die.
Definitely. Those are the worldly experiences that we do have for sure. And that really takes us into our final question here, which is number 7, which is, what do you believe we're really here to do while we're still alive in this physical form?
Our purpose has changed since Adam and Eve sinned and sin entered the world. He originally made us in his image, for him. That's what he did. But when we sinned, we're still going to continue. But now our main purpose should be that we should be trying to do it to come to him. If there's one goal in mind, one work that you can do in this life that would be pleasing God, would be to accept him, love him, and come to him, so that he will be able to allow you into heaven and spend all of eternity with you. Remember, when you're born into sin. You're born, but you're dead. You're dead in your sin. A little baby's dead in his sins. Everybody, you're in death because you're separated from God. To be separated from God is death. So the whole process of our life is to get to the point where we can truly be born, and then we will live with him. So in essence, we're all going through birth. In a way, you have a physical birth. Well, you have a conception, and you have an embryo, and the embryo grows. It's all part of life. And part of our life here is to get out of death and truly be born. That's why he says you're born again. To be separated from God is death. In the Bible, people say that suicide, if you commit suicide, you can't go to heaven. Well, it's true, but not true, because you got to understand what suicide he's talking about. Suicide is taking your own life. It's choosing death over life. So now, the only sin that will keep you out of heaven is non-belief, rejection of Christ, rejection of him. So when you're confronted with you're not going to accept him, you reject him, that's choosing death over life. You rejected him. And if you kill yourself before you accepted him, you did the same thing. You took your life before you could accept him. So you choose that over God. You chose your life over him. So if a Christian, for an example, truly a born again, he gets caught up in the world and he sins and he gets in weird things with drugs or whatever, good people do bad things. Good Christians, believers still can do bad things. We live in this world still. We're influenced. When we accept Christ, he didn't take our free will away. We're still us. But we should exercise it through his love and do it out of love. But let's say you didn't and you were a Christian and you committed suicide by overdose or gun or whatever the case may be. Does that mean you're not going to heaven? No, you're going to go to heaven because you already had him in your heart and nobody will snatch you from their hands. But the suicide that they're talking about is that Jesus says is basically that sin, that your rejection of him. You're choosing to end your life before you could choose him. That's a rejection of him. So that's the only thing. But there's only one sin that will keep you out of heaven, rejecting. And then your life is over because you're choosing death over being born again because that separation from God is death.